Okay, short little video. This is my Air Arms Pro Sport. I bought myself a Tin Bum Tuning Maxi Pro short extension kit when the gun was playing up a few weeks back. But since then, I've actually had the gun apart, serviced it, put it all back together again, and there was nothing really wrong with it. So I've decided not to fit the Tin Bum Tuning kit. I'll keep it as a spare and I can always put it in at a later date. But what I have put in is the short stroke extension on my existing kit, which is a Tin Bum Tuning kit anyway. I don't know if you can see the sticker on there where it was done previously by Black Max off the AGF forum. So the extension, the short extension kit just went straight on the end of that, and that's will hopefully decrease the amount of air in the chamber. It should make a smoother shot cycle. It should maybe make the recoil less, maybe even make it a bit quieter. So that's what I'm going to do. Rather than put the actual Maxi Pro kit in, I'm just going to put the short stroke extension in. So this is a short video just to show you how to take the gun apart, put the bits on it and put it back together again. Cheers, bye. When I did my last video for the Pro Sport, I explained how I'd got the gun apart, but I didn't actually show it. So to get the stock off, you've got a screw there. Actually, it's a hex bolt, and then a hex bolt here. Just want to take them out. And you've got to do the same on the other side. So now we take the other two hex bolts out. Okay, and then finally, to get the stock off, you've got two hex bolts on the trigger guard. So for the trigger guard, you've got two hex bolts, a little one, and then the next one, the one at the front, is slightly larger, so you use a larger bit. So that's now the trigger guard off. So to get the stock off, now all the screws are out, you lift the cocking arm. Let's just get that out of the way, and then the stock comes off nice and easy like that. So now we have to undo the cocking screw, which is a hex bolt there, and that releases the cocking arm, and then we need to compress the compression tube, and then undo this bolt. This bolt holds the action together, the trigger block, with the rest of the action, and to do that we need to put some weight on this, push it that way while we undo the bolt. So because you haven't got a lot of room in between now, I can't get the screwdriver in, so I'm just using a normal hex key to undo the shoe on the cocking arm. I'll get me hex key in there. A bit fiddly. Quite a tight fit as well. Let's see if I can get it all the way around. Yeah, there we go. Just pull that back a bit and I can go all the way around. That's it. That's it. So the cocking arm is now loose. Okay, so I'm leaving the scope on. I'm gonna push the bottom of the action downwards to put pressure on it while I undo this bolt. And then you slowly lift the pressure. That's come up a little bit. And now the trigger block can come out. Okay, so now the trigger block's off, we can get everything out of the action. There is a washer in there which will come out. I'll get that out in a minute. So what I need to do is give everything a clean. Okay, so I've put the extension kit, the extension piece on the cylinder. And I'm going to give these all a good clean. I'm going to clean inside the compression tube, I'm going to clean the spring, and I use on Tim Bum Tuning's website, he says he uses carb cleaner, so I'm going to do the same. So just give everything a spray and then give everything a good wipe down until everything's nice and shiny and clean. So to clean the inside of the compression tube, obviously it's quite hard to get in there, so I'm just going to use quite a wide screwdriver, and then I've got some lint free cloth that I normally use for my car. I'm just going to wrap the cloth around that a couple of times so it's sort of reasonably thick, and then I'm just going to shove that inside the compression tube, and that goes all the way in, and just give it a good few turns. And then sometimes what I do is I roll up a bit of tissue like that and get that inside. That's pretty clean. I'm looking at it under the light and it's pretty clean, but I'll give it another couple of cleans. Okay, everything's cleaned up. I'm now going to put some moly grease on the bits that need greasing. So the Delrin guides, very lightly on the spring. I'm also going to lubricate. There's a couple of moving parts on the action, so obviously you've got a moving part here, so I'm going to put a little bit of oil there, and that one there where the cocking shoe arm is connected, and the cocking shoe itself actually turns and moves, so I'm going to put some little tiny bit of lube on that as well. Okay, so everything is very lightly lubed and ready to go back in the gun. So I shall be doing that now. Okay, so I've just pushed the spring and the guide and the compression tube into the action, and obviously I need to line up the hole on the top of the compression tube with the little hex bolt that's going to screw down into it. Okay, so tightening down the hex bolt on the cocking arm on the cylinder. And the compression tube. So now that's pushing, there we go, pushing the cylinder backwards and forwards. I'm just getting the top that there. Okay, yeah, so I'll tighten that up, nip that up a bit. Okay, so now I need to get the trigger unit back inside the action. So I'm just going to slide that in and then the reverse of before, I need to put a bit of pressure on this to get the bolt in, which is here. Can't actually see where the bloody hole is. There. There we go, and the trigger block is now back inside the action. Now I'll nip that up a bit, then it'll be time to get it back in the stock. Now to drop the action into the block. That's it in. Now, just make sure the holes are lined up. Yeah. Turn that off. I shall put the stock screws in first, and then I'll put the trigger block screws in. Okay, I'm having a bit of trouble getting the stock screws in because I hadn't quite dropped it down. Now it's dropped down properly. They should just go in, and they are. Yeah, that's going in. I'm not going to do these too tight. I'm going to do all 4 screws, 2 on each side, just get them in, and then I'll nip them up once I've got the trigger block in as well. Let's just turn that round. Get the other 2 stock screws in. That's the 4th one. And like I say, I'll put the trigger block on and then we'll nip them all up. So when you put the trigger block back in, it's got the big bolt at the front, the little bolt at the back. You can't really get it the wrong way around because of the shape of the stock and the trigger block, because the front of the trigger block is raised and there it's further down, so you can't really get it the wrong way around. It's a bit weird. It really annoys me when they use different size hex bolts on the same gun. So that's a much bigger bolt at the front, whereas these side hex bolts and the rear one are all the same size, so you have to obviously use 2 hex bits. You think, why not just do them all the same bloody size? Right, so I'm just nipping these up now, so they're nice and tight. And the other thing I look for, once I've got the stock back in, make sure that the cocking arm is operating okay and it's central. There's not, when you look at it, there's not a gap one side bigger or the other, which it isn't. If you look there, the gap at the top and the bottom is pretty much the same. It's about 1/2 mil both sides. Sometimes people complain that their cocking arm is slightly to one side, and I think that's just where they haven't maybe nipped up the stock bolts, or they've nipped up one side too tight before nipping up the other side. So just nip them up gently and then go around and tighten them up. That's it. So that is now done. So my Pro Sport is now back together, and it's got its extension kit in it. So it should have a shorter stroke. It should have a smoother cocking cycle. It should have less recoil. I'll put it over the chrono and see what it's doing. It was doing When I serviced my gun not long ago, and I put a video up, it was creeping up from the high 9s into the low 10s, around about 10ish. So we'll see what this is. I mean, to me, anything between 10 and 10.5 is fine for me. I don't chase ultimate power. So I'll put a few shots for the chrono and we'll see what it's doing. Okay, so Pro Sport, I'm just firing a few shots into the chronograph, but I just thought, as it's supposed to make it smoother and reduce recoil, I've put a little pellet on the side of the gun there. I can't balance it on the barrel because it's round, so I'll put it on the side of the gun there, and we'll just see how smooth it is. Bear in mind, it's on a relatively hard, these are rubber grips on the stand, but it's on a relatively hard surface. Okay, just got a slight little jump, but the pellet's still on there, so I think that's pretty smooth.